Today on Getting to Space we are talking about the one visible difference between regular rockets and Starship that no one is talking about. Starship is supposed to be the tool that will provide us with cheap access to space and to the solar system. Millions of people are watching its development day by day. They are watching videos of its test flight, they are commenting about every little detail, yet no one, or very few people, are talking about this very unique feature that in turn will unleash the true potential of the spacecraft. That's what we are talking about in this video. Now let's try to find the difference together. Starship is made of steel, and other rockets are mostly made of aluminium or carbon fiber, or even some other composites. But do you remember the Atlas rocket? The first one that was designed in the 50s. Like the Starship, it was made of steel, and like the Starship, it needed internal pressurization in order to maintain its integrity. Otherwise, it collapsed under the weight of the satellite that was stacked on top of it. So there still is not a difference between regular rockets and the Starship. Then it must be the wings. Rockets do not have wings, do they? Wrong again, because we all know the US space shuttles, the Russian space shuttle, the X-37B, or even the Dream Chaser that will, in a few years, fly to the ISS. So we must find something else again. At this point, some of you probably think that a second stage of a rocket, powerful enough to lift itself from the ground, is nowhere to be seen in the industry. And yes, the Starship, which is the second stage of the rocket, the first one being the super heavy booster, is powerful enough to lift itself from the ground. But as millions of people have seen the Starship lift off from the ground under its own power and have commented about it, I would not describe this feature as something that no one talks about. One could also say that there is no service tower alongside the Starship, but SpaceX provided us with 3D renders that all depict a service tower alongside the stack. And indeed, they are right now constructing one, a very big one, in fact. But what are we usually seeing dangling between the service tower and the rocket? Yes, umbilicals. Starship doesn't have umbilicals and no one is talking about it. At this point you are probably thinking that this is ridiculous, but I will prove to you that this is indeed very important. In fact, the umbilicals are there, they are only hidden under the skirt of the Starship and connected to the launch stand. They are used to provide fuel and power to the rocket while it's sitting on the pad. When the super heavy first stage will be ready, it will use exactly the same system and will be fed from the bottom up. When Starship and Super Heavy will be stacked on top of each other, which Elon Musk stated will happen in July this year, the top of the Super Heavy will be connected to the bottom of the Starship. The methane and liquid oxygen will then be fed from the pad to the Super Heavy, and then from the Super Heavy to the Starship. Now on to the point. On the ground, it may help improving the turnaround time a little bit by reducing the number of connections needed. In itself, it's not enough though, because this system means more plumbing, and more plumbing means more weight, reducing the capacity of the Starship. The real use case will be in space, with the Starship being refueled by a Starship tanker using the exact same connections. If this technique works, it will enable the Starship to be fully fueled in low Earth orbit, or LEO. The Starship being refueled in space will allow it to send cargo from low Earth orbit to the Moon or to Mars, and then land there. On the surface of Mars, the connectors being close to the ground will be a great help in refueling the Starship from the ground, with in situ resource utilization, for instance. This will allow the Starship to get back to low Mars orbit, meet with a Starship tanker to fill up again, and get back to the Earth. The really important question is, will it work? With Starship re-entry and landing technique, it's the second great unknown of the Starship system. Without refueling, the Starship will still be a very good rocket to reach low Earth orbit. But this refueling is critical when it comes to go to the Moon or Mars, or even other planets on the solar system. SpaceX has been awarded by NASA a contract to test on-orbit fuel transfer, and hopefully this will help them develop this technique. And that will conclude our episode. If you think that what I just said was useful to you, then I will appreciate if you could give it a like. This is Getting to Space, signing off.